Welcome back, everybody. This is my attempt to do some commentary over a race from about a week ago. This is the Cat 3-4 Crit up in Clarkdale. It's a small town not that far from Sedona. Probably gets overshadowed by Sedona. But I have to say, it's a neat little place. Pretty interesting territory surrounding it. It was a little closer drive as well. We didn't have to go through some of the Sedona traffic or deal with that. So cool place to visit. You should check it out. Started the lap, started the course. I had not had a chance to preview any of these corners. That was an interesting experience. They recently repaved this, but as you can tell, the pavement is still pretty rough. And right from the gun, we have two people attempting to send a little bit of a breakaway here. I'm not particularly interested in that because today I'm hoping to walk away with the win. Which I suppose the title of this video spoils the fact that that's not what happened. That said, I don't execute some things I wish I had executed better. One of them is simply turning on this course. I would already rate my turning ability for where I am as far as how many years I've done this and how often I race and things like that. I would already say I'm middle of the pack at best. These corners are technical because, and the GoPro smooths so much of it out, but they're technical because they really are bumpy. The city repaved, and that was really awesome. I'm really grateful that they were able to do that in prep for this race. But the corners themselves are still quite bumpy. And so when you're going 30 miles an hour and you want to lean your bike over, big bumps are the last thing you want. So I felt like I never fully dialed those last couple corners in, and that ends up playing a role in where I place in this race, and we'll see that a little bit later on. One of the other things to note is that this is a race as part of a big cycling-oriented festival that Clarkdale puts on. Pretty cool stuff. It's called the Verde Valley Rally. They do off-road stuff. There's a lot of vendors. There's a live band, food trucks. Like, it was a big event, and it's really cool to see a town support something like this in that way. This is a pretty niche sport, and people are always saying that it's dying, but I look at events like that, and sometimes the mountain bike community seems to have found ways to keep it going, and a lot of that is because they allow for like kids and family people to have something to do, and like a place to actually hang out. A lot of cycling events are kind of like a parking lot and a piece of road, and that's not exactly exciting for those folks. So I think it's a trend in the right direction, and I hope people continue to come out here and support this. It's a tough race, but I'm glad I went up and did it first time on the course. So some of these turns are just frankly scary, and scary to me. You know, it's all relative. Some people are railing them pretty well. We didn't have any crashes. I didn't see any crashes in the other races either. Everyone looked like they were riding pretty clean, so it's probably less dangerous than it feels. And you can see that I'm losing wheels here, and it's definitely not a fitness thing. It's simply feeling uncomfortable getting bumped around on the bike like that speed. That we started with something like 30 people. We did not finish with all of them, that's for sure. And even 7 or 8 laps in, we were losing a lot of people off the back. So it is a hard race. This is a pretty substantial hill here. It is short, but again, you're bouncing all over the place, and that actually saps a lot of power out of your legs. And so I was finding that I was riding a lot of this course seated, and I didn't really want to get up out of the saddle and getting bumped around a lot. Here's another one of those fun bumpy turns. Again, GoPro smooths it out quite a bit, but that was a turn that you definitely wanted to have both hands on the bars for. And a lot of the turns on this course are like that. Great courses with features are cool though. And having just raced almost like a NASCAR style loop the prior weekend, it's kind of nice to have a race in which there's other stuff going on. So coming through the start finish, you'll see we got a little bit of a kind of a head crosswind here, and that ends up having a little bit of a role in the race. I think it really made people second guess how long these laps were in some sense. It seems like the start of this, you kind of lose your momentum through that first turn. You're going uphill, you're going into the wind. You got to take a bumpy turn, take this bumpy turn. You go through this sort of bumpy uphill as well. And so there's this sense that there's a lot coming before you get to the top and you start going fast down the hill again. I think that psychology actually created some hesitance in people. And you'll see later on that the winning move of the day essentially takes advantage of that with a couple laps to go. And people hesitated. And I mean, that's undoubtedly how they won. They were strong anyway, but it takes the whole group to decide not to chase. And more or less, that's what happened. And kudos to them for taking advantage of it. It's a great racecraft. So again, here you can see on this downhill section, I just let this gap open up. It's not, I'm not being forced to do that. I just know that I'll come through here and basically no brakes it and just roll right up on this wheel again. That time was a slightly different, but for the most part, that was a pretty easy maneuver to make. There's some benefit to slowing it down. It's been a fairly hard race. We've lost a lot of people. The times up this long straight and up the hill every lap are pretty challenging. The turns at the bottom of the course are such that people are having to kind of sprint out and close gaps afterwards. So I think people are trying to recover a little bit, myself included. There are a lot of races where if it slows down like that, I want to keep it fast, but at this one, I was happy for the rest. I also came here definitely to win this race. And so in my head at this point, I'm sitting here in the top group here and I'm thinking like, as long as I can keep myself well positioned, I have a real shot. And the more I can consider my options, and in this case, looking with 5 to go, 4 to go here, I look back and there's a pretty long tail, and I think, you know what, we might be able to snap the elastic. So I put in a little dig here just to kind of see what people are willing to do. I felt like I had the energy to do this. In hindsight, I think maybe it would have taken more commitment. But again, you don't want to go... I'm not the kind of rider that can go by themselves from this distance. So looking around, not really seeing anyone who wants to join me here. And frankly, we didn't snap the elastic enough. I've been happy to just sit on the front and have clear views through the turns. Also, I think my girlfriend probably appreciated seeing me on the front. She got a pretty good photo of me from this that I might use as the thumbnail for the video. So if you've already seen it, you know, that's kudos to her for taking that. So now we're coming through, and it's only three laps to go, and I just cannot afford to just sit out here. And finally, we do get a little bit of action here. We get a couple of riders come around on the left, but you can tell it's a good move, but it's tempered. And fortunately, my teammate's right there on and about it. So coming through here, knowing that we only have a couple laps to go, I'm willing to nuke it out of that corner. I don't want any gaps. And so I think, oh, this could be it, you know. Maybe this is the move that gets it going. But pretty immediately, you can tell that no one's having to work super hard here. And we're doing a much better job on these corners now. Towards the last bit of the race, people are starting to learn them, feel dialed in. Myself included, you know, I'm still not taking them perfectly, but I'm certainly doing better than I was at the beginning of the race. And my teammate there gets bumped a little to the outside, which it's an interesting problem to have. So again, here we come, and like people will just kind of slow up on this section, not wanting to lead through the headwind. And this turns out to be really consequential. So I'm gonna pause for just a half second. So here we are coming into 2 to go. This is the start finish straight. It's a headwind. The pack has just slowed up. You can see we're going 21 miles an hour through this section. We've typically been going through it at like 27, 28. And at this point in the race, if you're one of those like 2 to 5 minute guys, this is a fantastic time to attack the group, especially if you can slingshot. So what you'll notice is someone does exactly that. This U of A rider on the left slingshots past the group out of that turn, first to the first turn, and just starts off on a little journey. The front riders in the group at the moment hesitate. This is what I was saying earlier. We just got done coming up the hill. It's 2 laps to go. People are kind of wondering if this solo rider has really got it. But you can see already, he's already halfway between us and the moto. And he's almost halfway up the hill, and we're just at the bottom of it. Again, this gap isn't insurmountable at the moment, but no one is committing to chase it. We're kind of like ambling up this hill. I'm doing less than 300 watts. Like, we are not pushing the pace here. And this all spells good news for the breakaway rider. So at this point, I'm looking around thinking to myself, like, well, if no one's going to go after him, we're basically letting the race get away. And so I watched the Frontier rider come through here, and I think, oh, that's a great idea. So I'm going to come with you. But the trouble here is you can't do a ton of work at the front when you're going downhill like this. There's just not much to do. And this course is so turny that you're constantly setting yourself up for the corners. And right here, you'll see that I get bumped pretty far off my line there. This is the kind of thing that can kind of disrupt your thinking. And I really shouldn't have let it get to me. It wasn't that bad, and it's tough. The older I get, the more trouble I seem to have with it. But again, it wasn't dangerous or anything, so no shade for that rider doing that. It's just a thing that can happen in racing. So I make my way back onto the wheel here, and now we're coming into 1 to go, right? And I'm noticing that, like, we're still not going full tilt. This is average pace through this start finish. So we see a little action at the front. I get a little excited here. I think maybe we're gonna go, maybe we're gonna go. But then again, we all kind of just like start chilling a little bit, and this is just not as fast as we need to be going through these sections. So at this point, I make my mind up that if we hesitate at all at this point, I'm just going to nuke it around. And I see that my teammates also reasonably well positioned, so we're just not going fast enough through here. So I just nuke it and want to be the first one up the hill. But I'm still I didn't commit to this the way that I could have. In retrospect, and you can see right here, this rider is probably maybe something like 8 to 10 seconds in front. At this point, with the ground we have left to cover, it's nearly impossible to reel him in. He either has to sit up or fumble one of the corners, or otherwise, make some big mistakes. So I think my experience actually let me sense that. And I recognize that there's no sense in doing a death pull to try to bring this back before the finish. However, I don't play this next bit quite as well as I wish I had. So I let a couple riders around me, and then I get bumped a little bit here by Griffith. And it's, again, bumping is racing, right? But it throws me just off enough that I don't corner this nearly as well as I had during other parts of the race. And I look at how fast they're coming through here. We're doing 30. And I'm unwilling to take the corner quite that quick. And that little bit of braking opens up this gap. I hated this turn right here. It's just the worst. But that little bit of a gap basically lets these guys ride away a little. And that's enough for them to get second, third, and fourth. And now I have no choice but to do my haggard sprint, which I don't manage to pull off, and both my teammate and another rider get me at the line. So it was an interesting race. The course is very interesting. The pavement was very interesting. I was happy with, in some sense, the way that the race was ridden. The breakaway rider did a fantastic timing of that. In retrospect, I'm so happy I had the GoPro. Looking at this stuff totally changes how I view the race and how I think about it moving forward. So kudos to them. Great job. And we'll see you in the next one.